Hi, everybody, and welcome to our final trip preparation meeting for the Washington, D.C. trip for 2024. Now, my name is Darren Ryder, and I'm the tour director, and along with some of our CGMS staff members, taking the trip with the students this year. So, the goal of this meeting is to make sure that we're all on the same page and to eliminate any questions that people have, and just make sure that people are comfortable with everything that's happening up to the trip as well as on the trip, too. So I'll start right here at the top, and it's a good idea for people to split screen this so you have the video going so you can hear it while you're also looking at this form, because this form tries to be your one-stop shop for all answers. Now, I kind of explain it in a little more detail than I can put into words on there to hopefully help with understanding for people, but it's not perfect, so if you have questions at the end, definitely let us know. So, again, my name is Darren Ryder, and I guess the important part right here is that phone number. So, for every student that's going on the trip, you should have that number in your phone already, okay, before we go on the trip. So, you have that, so then if there's anything that's needed, you have direct contact with me right away. Now, I put my email on there. That's mainly for parents. Students don't usually use that much, but students will use that number. And the thing that we have is a second number is this Tour Central. Now, Tour Central is WorldStride's kind of emergency number where they make sure that you have access to your student at all times. Because sometimes students will get on this trip, they're not answering parents. If that's the case, text me. I'm usually right next to them. Tour Central we try to use just for emergencies. Now, I'll use it sometimes if I have some problems with flight stuff, bus stuff, whatever it is. I can call Tour Central or my account rep. For the parents, it's there in case of emergencies if you can't get a hold of your student. But I do strongly encourage you to reach out to me first because I'll have more access and know more about the story rather than Tour Central typically. Now, if you're watching this video, you obviously found this link already, but that's the one that links to this whole presentation. Now, you are going to have about 30 minutes on this, and I try to get you 2 weeks to, give you 2 weeks in order to have time to watch it kind of at your own, leisure and whatever works for your family. So we have my number, we have Tour Central. Now we're looking at our hotel. Now, the hotel we stay at is Westin Tysons Corner. Now, we've stayed at this hotel for roughly 5 to 7 years now. We took a break from it last year, came back to it because for the pricing and for our group, it's a great fit for us. Now, unfortunately, it does not have a pool, so the students get a little bummed out, but we're not really there much, and especially this year with our different flights, we have to stay out a little bit later to make sure that we get everything in. Okay, so there's our hotel, Westin's Tysons Corner. Now, we'll talk about the roommate selection and all that in a little bit, but I wanted to make sure that you had that information too so that you know exactly where we're staying. Now, our chaperones this year, we have very, very seasoned group of chaperones. The people that you're seeing on this list have went on this trip numerous times, and the best part is not only are they great people, but they are ahead of the game as far as this trip. They can spot things because they have the experience. They can spot trouble spots and head those off for me before they even get there. And that's why I'm so thankful to have the chaperones that we have on the list. So we have Mr. Bauman, Mr. Foss, Mrs. Nelson, Mrs. Pfeiffer, Mr. Qualley, and myself. So we have 67 students total, and we have 6 chaperones going on the trip. Now you will hear Mr. Qualley and Mr. Foss. Mr. Foss is going to ask for like fruit and stuff. Don't bring him fruit. Don't entertain him with that stuff. Mr. Qualley will ask for stuff like Twizzlers, M&Ms, and Mr. Bauman will take anything. Okay, so don't let him bully you into trying to get him some snacks. Okay, Mr. Qualley does that all the time, but if you do bring him, that's pretty nice too. All right, so that's our team of chaperones. So we've got these 6 that are going with the 67 students, and I'd like to ensure you they're in good hands. The people that we're bringing are really good at this and they have great experience, so it's so helpful for me too. Now, our flight information. Now, this is the hard part with organizing trips is because the one place I have zero control, zero, is airlines. We are at the mercy of the airlines as we go through here. And so our flights are always early, but this year is really early. I mean, really early. So if you look at on Wednesday when we fly out, Now we're flying out and back, so flying out and returning on Southwest Airlines. Now we do have a layover when we're on the flight out. So we're going out of Terminal 2, the Southwest Air WN 4725. We do have a layover in St. Louis, so you notice this 5:05 a.m. time. That is super early. We'll talk to you in a couple minutes about how we handle that, making sure that we go through there. But with the experience of the chaperones and the group check-in, we usually can handle that pretty easily. So we have that layover going to St. Louis. Then we go St. Louis to DCA. So we're coming into Reagan National, and we'll be there at 11:40. Now, that's a long time. So here's my suggestion. Eat light before you get there. We'll have time to grab something during this layover. If they need something like a breakfast sandwich, something like that, they will and should have time to get something during that layover. And then as soon as we get off that plane, the first thing we do is feed them because they're probably, and usually they're hungry, from the trip. Now, our return then is also on Southwest, and we're coming in early on Sunday morning. And so that's the hard part with the flights and not having control of that. They set those for us. And so that means coming home that early on Sunday, that means that we have to hammer it more on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So trust that they're going to be a little bit tired when they get home. Getting home at 10 a.m. hopefully ensures that they can make it and get enough rest to be ready for school on Monday too. Now, usually the students are all right. I'm more worried about the chaperone sometimes. We're getting up there in age a little bit. Gets a little tougher to get up in the mornings after a long weekend like that. So that's our flights. Okay, everything is out of Terminal 2. Okay, so it helps us a lot to have it out of that smaller airline, or the smaller airport. It helps us a ton because it's just easier to organize as we're going through there. Now, the first question that students have is, can I sit by my friends? Now, if you caught it earlier, I said the one place that I have zero control is with the airlines. And so we don't do any switching of seats, anything like that. The ticket that they give us is the seat that we get. Okay? And so I know it'd be great. You're going to have the opportunity to be with your friends at every other point of the trip other than sitting on the plane. If you randomly get assigned next to your friend, you won the lottery. If you don't, we just take that couple hours, relax, and we just make sure we're not flipping and doing all that. Because the biggest thing we don't want to do is disturb the business passengers that are going. You're going to see a look of fear. When 67 students come on to this flight, you are going to see a look of fear out of many people, and we try to put those fears to rest because we try to get our expectations up there so students know exactly what to expect. So here's a general rule for the plane that we use. You sit in your assigned seat, but then we also say no talking over the seats. And what that does is, yes, we know you want to see your friends, and yes, we know that your friends might only be 5 to 6 rows behind you. But what other passengers on the plane that they don't want is that distraction. And so we just try to make sure that we have some respect for those other passengers. We make sure we're not talking over the seats. We make sure we're not flip-flopping seats. We're just making sure that we're traveling like any passenger would on there. Okay, so that's a huge thing. You'll hear us say it a lot. We'll remind you as you're getting onto the plane too, like, hey, make sure we're not talking over the seats. That just ensures a good travel and a good flight for everybody. Now, some reminders that we want to talk about at the airport. Now, I get that we're traveling with middle school students, but we also get that we're traveling with mature 8th grade students. And so we kind of should have a feel for what's okay, what's not okay, but we want to make sure that we touch on that too so we're all on the same page. Now, making a bomb joke, not funny at an airport. In fact, they take it very, very seriously. So we just try to make sure that the students that are going on our trip, we understand that. Now, another thing is no liquids going through security. So many times students will get a water or they'll have their water bottle, whether it's a Stanley or whatever it is, and they'll try to take it through full and then they get it confiscated. We try to avoid that by making sure that anything that you have liquid is not going through. So there will be a spot to dump it out, but try to take care of that before. And parents, guardians, if you can talk to them about that before, that helps us also. Excuse me. Now, we say be considerate, don't talk over seats, make sure that we have that. parents, unfortunately, you can't come through us or with us through security. So one of the things that we'll do is when we get to the airport on departure day, and I'm kind of going into this area here too, but we'll get you there. And Terminal 2 is nice. We don't know exactly where we'll be, but if you come in the main doors, typically they push us to the right for the group check-in. Sometimes we go left, there's not as much room. So they typically push us to the right. We don't know that till we get there that morning. And with that early time, they don't even open very much earlier than our flight. So it's going to be extremely important that we're organized, we have everything set, and we're getting people through there. Parents, you cannot come with us through security. Excuse me. So what happens is we'll tell you like, hey, parents, we're leaving. Say your final goodbyes. Please hug them, kiss them. They're going to act like they don't want it. Trust me, they do. Excuse me. So for one of the things that is a lot of students, this is your first trip that you're kind of going alone, maybe without your parents. So that extra hug goes a long way sometimes. So don't be afraid. Students, don't fight it. They just love you. They're going to miss you. Now, parents, I do see some celebrating when we leave too, like, woohoo, I get a vacation for 4 days. Don't blame you. Know that they're in good hands and they're going to have a blast when they're on the trip too, though, okay? All right, now, another big rule that we have is always travel in pairs. Now, this gets awkward sometimes, but it's a security, it's a safety measure for us. So I put in there, yes, even to the bathroom. Now, here's the scenario that typically plays out. We get through security, students are all excited, they're ready to go on the plane, and all of a sudden one of them starts walking across all by themselves, and we go, wait, where are you going? And they're like, to the bathroom. And we're like, do you have your buddy? And they're like, but I'm going to the bathroom. And we're like, yep, with a buddy. And so we'll walk into bathrooms and there will be that awkward person standing in the bathroom while the other person is going to the bathroom or using the bathroom. That is safety for us. You're always in pairs, whether we're going to the bathroom, whether we're at a restaurant, whether we're walking at a museum, whatever it is, you always have a partner with you. That is strictly for security. If you don't have a partner that's around you, we'll kind of be like, hey, this person, they need to walk you over to here. Now, this is especially true in the hotel also. So at night, sometimes, whether they're going to get their snacks, ice, whatever it is, they're still going with pairs. We always want that safety and security in mind the whole time that we're on that trip. All right, so that's some of those rules. Now, I'm looking at our departure on Wednesday, October 17th, and we saw that early 5:05. So what we're going to do is we're at Terminal 2. Parents, guardians, more than welcome to come in. Probably the easiest is to park in the short term because we'll have you in there roughly a half hour before we have to go through security and stuff. So hopefully that short term would work for you. You can come in with your student. Trust me, they do want to see you before you leave. So we strongly encourage you to do that. You can drop them off, but we encourage the parents, guardians to come in. So we'll start getting in there at about 3:30. Now, TSA is not open at that time. The group check-in for Southwest may be helping us at that time, but they may make us wait till 3:45, 4 o'clock too. So we're kind of at their mercy there. And so we'll get everybody in a group. Students, when you get there, you'll find Mr. Foss. He'll start checking students in so we can get our count, make sure that we're good. Then we'll start getting people towards the check-in area. And if they have to check in bags and stuff like that, we kind of handle all that. But usually I'm standing right where the students check in because in the past we've had students try to check in overweight bags. And I was like, what's in here? They had a case of pop. They were going to pay an extra $50 or $75 to bring that case of pop. So we just simply took the case of pop out and we got them a case once we got there. Way easier. So that's when we say, parents, guardians, if you can help us out with that stuff, that helps us a ton too. Now, our return on Saturday, October 20th, we're coming back into Terminal 2. Now, if you look at it, we'll be there at about 10 a.m. We love that celebration. And so Terminal 2, we come down a set of stairs going toward the baggage claim. Coming down that set of stairs a lot of times is where a large part of our group will be. And you will see people with signs, flowers, celebrating, whatever it is. That's awesome. Show them how much you missed them on that trip. Embarrass them a little bit. That's okay too. They may be embarrassed, but trust me, they like it. All right, so that's Terminal 2. Please make sure that you're there on time. I hate to see the students, the look on their faces when nobody's there to pick them up. We wait for them. We make sure they're all good, but we like to see that happiness when they get there because they're excited to see you too. Now, for our baggage, we do a ton of walking. And so you have a chance to check in a bag because Southwest has no baggage fees. Okay, so you do have a chance to check it. A lot of people will just do carry on. They don't want to have their bag away from them, and I understand that too. If parents, guardians, you can just do a good job. Make sure what they have is packed, what they have packed is correct. Make sure that we're careful with the liquids. We do a ton of walking, and so each student should make sure that you have comfortable clothes. Early temps are high 60s that week. We're not looking at rain yet, but that can definitely change a couple weeks out. So just make sure that they have good clothes. Make sure that they have comfortable shoes. We always say no flip-flops. A lot of DC has some marble floors. If those things get wet, that thing's like a slip and slide. And so we say no flip-flops, and I tell you that, and I guarantee you Mr. Foss is probably going to wear flip-flops. But if he falls, it's on him. If a student falls, I have to deal with it. So we just try to make sure to avoid that when possible. Now, baggage fees, Southwest does not charge. I'll be up there checking bags for those students if they need to. Some, like we said, some will just do carry-on, and that's fine too. Now, I added this luggage and TSA information on here for you, just in case you're wondering as far as the ounces, things like that, of liquids. Make sure that we double check those. Now, each student in our final meeting on Tuesday, October 8th, will be giving a bag tag. Now, you'll be given this bag tag, and all you have to really put on there is your name, and at the top it says group name. Group name is just CGMS. So if you put CGMS in big marker, we'll be able to see that. The people at the airline will be able to see that. I'll have extra bag tags with me that day, so if your student misplaces them, just let us know and we'll get that right away. Now, for IDs, a lot of people ask, do they need an ID, knowing that they're not 16? The fact that they're under 16 makes it so that we can be their guardians during that trip. And so they do not need a driver's license, obviously, but they don't need their school ID. They do not need anything like that. What they will get from us is this little pouch that holds information. On that information, I encourage them to put, my phone number, Tour Central's phone number. I don't other tour groups make students wear this. I don't. Okay, here's why. If they have a cell phone and they have my cell number in there and they have Tour Central's number in there, they really have everything that they need on this. Okay, now you can definitely wear it. Students, if you want to, go for it. We don't require you to, but we do ask that if you don't have a cell phone, then you have this for sure, right? Just so you have access to the numbers that you need to at all times. For others that are carrying their cell, just make sure those numbers are in there so that we have you covered, okay? Now, roommate selection. This is always one of the most challenging things for us because we try to make it so that it fits for every student. And then we had some late additions to our trip this year, which is awesome because we want any student that has the chance to go to take that opportunity. And so it changes our numbers a little bit. So we do the absolute best that we can, knowing that it's not a perfect system. And if I could get everybody their own room or a room with one other person, I'd do it. But it comes down to finances, right? The rooms are roughly about $200 a night. And so we are only given a certain amount of rooms and we have to fit in there. Now, this list, when you click on it, has our work in progress. I'm not going to say it's 100% finalized, but it's probably in the high 90s% finalized. And what it has is it has the room and they run left to right. So if parents, guardians, if you could just check, and students, just check that you are with the right people, that's perfect for me. Now, once everybody gets done with this video, you're going to send me a message that just says, my student, whatever their name is, has watched this video. That's an agreement to me like, hey, I checked out the rooms, roommates are good, we are good to go. Okay, now if there is a problem, that's why we're doing this meeting 3 weeks early too, to make sure that we have time to fix that problem. Now, I've talked to many people in the last couple days trying to finalize roommate stuff. doing the absolute best that we can. Like we said, though, knowing it's not a perfect system. So go ahead and double check that. We have 67 students total. So we have 34 boys, 33 girls. And so it gets a little tricky. And so we do the best, and we don't always nail it. So if there's other ideas that work for people, let us know, and we try to make things work. Now, the medical forms. Now, these medical forms, most of you have handed these in. If you have not handed them in, we're going to need that in the next couple days here. And what that is just kind of telling us if there's anything that we need to be aware of on the trip. So the big thing is, be honest on those. We can't provide the medical care that you need if we don't have the information. And so what we do is if your student that's going on the trip with us takes certain medications, list it on there. Just so we know, in case of an emergency, we want to have the most information we can have in order to help that student. Now, if your student can take the meds by themselves, you're fine. You just tell me, hey, they're taking these meds, but they're going to take them all on their own. Then we have, and it's usually Miss Pfeiffer. Miss Pfeiffer will check in with them each day and be like, hey, did you take your pill this morning? Yep, you did. Okay. Or no, you didn't. Can you remember to do that? If your student has that kind of sense of responsibility, we're more than happy to have them take their own. But if they need that kind of reminder, let us know on that form, and we'll make sure that they have everything that they need. Okay, so big encouragement to make sure that you are 100% truthful and honest on those. My favorite is we had a student that was lactose intolerant, and the parent just wrote they are lactose and intolerant. Okay, and I got a good giggle out of it, but they meant it. So as we go through, please be honest on your medical forms. Just make sure that you have all the information that you need on there. Now, the itinerary, this is a rough idea. Okay, now as you go through our itinerary, you see it's packed, and we have some big ticket items like Thursday, Holocaust and Fords, Friday, Mount Vernon, Saturday, Spy Museum and the Capitol Tour. Now, those are things that are set in stone because we have appointments for those. Everything else is flexible. And we do that because of weather, things like that. We want to see the absolute most we can in the time that we have. So from the time we hit the ground on Thursday till the time we get back on the plane on Sunday morning, we're going to go. And we want to make sure you get your money's worth. We want to make sure, and with that early flight Sunday, we have to push them a little bit more, especially on Friday and Saturday nights. We've got to push them a little more, just to make sure that they see everything. So for a lot of us, this is the one time we're getting out to Washington, D.C. Our goal is to say we didn't miss anything. And that's exactly what we're going to try to do. So we've had other trips where we fly back that Sunday kind of mid-afternoon. That means we've got to get those hours, and we've got to push them into those earlier days just to make sure that we see everything that we need to. Okay, so this is not perfect. It gives you, especially the people at home, it gives you a little idea of what we do each day, kind of gives you kind of a starting point for what's going to happen, but just know that it's not perfect, okay? All right, food. We're going to, most of our meals are kind of like a set order. So breakfast in the mornings, we have breakfast right at the hotel. So you'll come down the elevator to the main lobby. There's a little area, like a big conference room that we go into, and we ask that students eat breakfast each day. We do a ton of walking, ton of moving. You have to have some food in you in order to get going. And a lot of times if students are not feeling well on the trip, it's because they didn't eat breakfast. So we encourage every single person to eat breakfast. Now, we are down there, and we're not officially checking you in, but we're like, okay, did we see this student? Did they eat? Okay, did we see this one? Just making sure for kind of that health portion to make sure that they have everything they need for the trip, and then they have that energy for the trip too. Now, for lunch, a lot of times is a ticket item. So if you see this ticket, you can't see it very well on there, but it has about 15 different restaurants on there. And then students take that ticket, and each one of these tickets kind of tells them what they can get at each restaurant. Like Mr. Foss always goes to Subway. Always. We try to get him to expand his horizons. Doesn't do it. He's going to Subway. And so if Subway's there, that's where he's going. For others, it might be Chick-fil-A. It might be a pizza place, whatever it is. Students have that choice. Now, dinners typically are sit down, where we go into a restaurant, eat real quick. That Saturday night is a pickup dinner because we're trying to get so many things in on that Saturday. So that one's not a sit down, but most of the other ones are. So we usually go breakfast at the hotel, lunch with the ticket, dinner out somewhere. Okay, so one of the things they'll notice, students say it all the time. They're like, "Wait, we're going to eat again?" Yes, because sometimes we won't eat lunch till 1, but dinner's at 5. It's just the way it works. But one of the things we can almost guarantee you, they won't be hungry. The student will not be hungry on the trip. There's more than enough for options, things like that. So we should be good. If there is dietary concerns, though, let us know, because and you can do that on the med form or reach out to me separately. We just make sure, like, hey, if there's dietary concern, we have that taken care of usually before we get to the restaurant. And so that we have everything for that student, make sure it's great for them. All right, spending money. This is the $1,000,000 question. Well, sometimes it's like a $100 question, $200 question. But here's what I would do. If I was sending my student, I'd give them $50 to $100. That's all they need. Everything else is paid for. Now, students, you're going to hate me saying that because you're like, I need more than that. Yes, yes. But whatever students get, they're going to spend. And that's where I put this golden rule on there. What you give them, they're going to spend. So I've watched a student get $500. They had it spent within the first 2 hours of us being in Washington, D.C. 2 hours, $500. Now, if my family, my kids are not getting $500. This is why I say I would give you 50 to 100. Okay? Because when we go to souvenirs and things like that, we'll go to a souvenir shop that gives you the best prices. Most people want to buy their sweatshirt, their hat, whatever it is. That's where I say $100 for my student, because that would allow them to get their coffee in the morning if they want to. I know I don't drink coffee, but I get it. I have 3 kids, or 2 of my 3 kids do, and they can't live without it. So I get that. But that would include that. It would still allow them to get the sweatshirt, maybe a couple snacks if they wanted to at stores, stuff like that. But it's not overkill. Whatever you give them, they'll spend. It's completely up to you. Now, sometimes the coach driver will put water on the bus. We can buy those for $1, but we try to keep students hydrated as much as possible. That includes the souvenirs. And like I said, we will go to one of the cheapest shops in Washington, D.C. with the best product. And so we'll take care of that. There is a Starbucks in the hotel. The only thing we remind people is on that coach bus that we can't have anything without a closed top. And a closed top is not with an open hole in it like you get from Starbucks. Okay, so that's like a can or a bottle of Diet Coke or whatever that you can close shut so it doesn't spill on the bus. So just make sure if you're getting that Starbucks, it's gone before we get on the bus. Now, a lot of times when we go into the souvenir shops, just remember, laser pointers, they're not illegal, but they're super annoying, especially if they're on our bus. So we just say, don't buy those. The big belt buckles that can't get through security, don't buy those. Swiss Army knives, don't buy those. That can be considered a weapon. The zapping pens, although funny, not funny on the trip, okay? Especially when we're taking 67, 8th graders. The snow globes. I always tell people don't buy the snow globes because it's liquid. So to get them back on the plane can be difficult unless they're checking their bag in. Okay, so there's ways around it. But if your student has some of that stuff and is not handling it well, reach out to me, reach out to one of my chaperones. We'll make sure that they get it on and the best we can. Sometimes they have to, like last year, a student bought some hot sauce for chicken wings. Couldn't get through security. They just wasted $8 on a bottle of hot sauce that we had to throw in the garbage because there was nothing we could do with it. Okay, so just making sure if parents, guardians can go through that with their student too, that's super helpful. Now, cell phones, we definitely encourage cell phones, and here's why. It's so nice to have them be able to have contact to the people at home. And so the big thing for me is if they're not contacting the people at home, I want that to be on them, not on us. We used to have it where people didn't have cell phones and it was just way tougher to get a hold of the people at home and tougher for them to get a hold of me if they need me. And so we encourage the use of cell phones, but we want responsible cell phone use. So if we have a tour guide talking, you're not on your cell phone. we're listening at that point, right? People are spending a ton of money. We want to make sure that you're getting everything out of it that you can. And so when the tour guide is talking, no cell phones, no texting, no nothing. We're just making sure. Like, I don't want to listen to everything the tour guides say, to be honest. But I can sit there and just kind of daydream and be quiet and not go on my cell phone. Now, saying that, you will see me on my cell phone at times because I'm organizing the next stage of the trip. So I always get the students who are like, but you're on your cell phone. Yes, I am, but I'm not bothering anybody, I promise. And I'm making sure that the rest of the trip runs smooth too. So, students, just make sure you're respectful. Like, we're in eighth grade, we get it. We know what we should do, what we shouldn't do. So just make sure if the tour guide is talking that we're giving our full attention, because that's kind of what we're there for too. Now, monuments versus memorials. We'll remind students memorials are a place where family members may be, and they might be in mourning. And so we just make sure that we're aware of that. And you'll hear our chaperone saying like, hey, this is a memorial. Make sure that you're aware of this. Like one time we were at the Vietnam Memorial, and I watched, not from our group, but I watched two students actually fist fight at the Vietnam Memorial. Now, 20 feet away was a veteran who could have been there, a Vietnam vet, that could have been there for the first time, maybe visiting friends for the 100th time. To me, it didn't matter. I just didn't feel like that person needed to see that at the time. So we're pretty good about saying, hey, this is a monument, something that you just go look at, you can talk, you're doing all this stuff, and this is a memorial, a place that we want to be respectful because people might be mourning the loss of a loved one from that war, whatever it is. Okay, so we ask, and when we go to memorials, we'll ask students to take their hats off, just to be respectful, make sure that we have our group doing the right things in that situation. As far as clothing goes, now we said we'll do a ton of walking. We have the 60s during the day, but it's usually cool in the morning, cool at night. So make sure that you're prepared for both of those. We have those coach buses, so students are able to leave a bag on the bus. So like if you have a sweatshirt, then it gets hot, you can leave that in the bus. We're usually pretty close to our buses. Okay, make sure you have that comfortable footwear too. Now, a lot of students ask about swimsuits. No pool, so you do not need a swimsuit. Now, for behavior stuff, I don't expect behavior issues. Like, we're taking 67 students, and our students we always get compliments from people as far as on the plane, at restaurants, because our expectations are clear. I told people in the intro when we introduced this trip, if you're a pain in the butt, we truly don't want you to travel with us. And the reason is, I don't want to take a person who's a pain halfway across the country. We want students to be able to enjoy it. We want our chaperones to be able to enjoy it. We just want to make sure that people are doing the right thing. So that's the big thing, is just make sure that your behavior is good. Let's keep it going where we get those compliments of how great of a group Cottage Grove Middle School is. Now, security. Now I'm going to go back and talk about our hotels a little bit. Now, chaperones need to sleep too, right? Because we're there for the 3 nights. We're doing the same things that the students are. And so at night, one of the most important parts I feel for this trip is the security that we have. Now, we're at a hotel where typically they put us, the only people, on either a floor or one wing of that floor. And then we have security on that floor. Now, that security ensures that we're in our room at night. It makes sure our safety. It stops others that are not with our group from coming into our area. So they do a great job and give us peace of mind of our safety. Now, for students, what that means is each night we have what's called lockdown. And lockdown just means, hey, we're in for the night. We call it lockdown. It's not as bad as it seems. You're just in for the night because we need to get rest. Now, we're not saying you have to go to sleep in your room. We are saying it's time to relax a little bit, though, and we're in our rooms for the night and we're not coming out anymore. Now, with lockdown, that means unless there's an emergency, we're not coming out of that door anymore. We'll give students a chance to get their snacks, their ice, all that when we get to the hotel. They usually have 30-ish minutes to do all that. But once it hits that time, like that lockdown time, usually if we're back at the hotel at like 9:15, it'll be like 10 o'clock lockdown, which means they have 30 to 45 minutes to hang out with friends, do what they need to do, get their snacks stuff. But then once we're in for the night, we're in for the night. Now, I get a blue report every morning then that says, hey, room 234 did this, room 236 did this. Hopefully it's nothing. But if there is something, it'll say like, hey, room 234 opened their door at 11 o'clock. Now, security was there. Now, what happens in that case is I get that report. I meet with that room the next morning, ask them why that door was open. They give me the answer. I usually make that phone call home to those parents then saying, hey, we were all clear on this. They were opening their room, which is a security issue for us. So we just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. When we go into lockdown, it's for a reason, right? People are in their rooms. Now, students, you do have my cell phone. So if there is something that you need, if there is an emergency, let me know. Okay? We can get that for you. Don't just come out of the room, because at that point the security is going to report to us because they expect you're trying to come out, probably not for good things. Okay? Now, our buses are awesome. We go coach buses, and we have two great drivers. You're going to see the drivers. It's Leroy and Ira. They are the best in the business. They travel with us quite a bit, so you're going to see them. And when we see them, you're going to see hugs, celebration, because we love having them every year. They're part of our trip too. So because those buses are so nice and our drivers are the best, we make sure that we take care of them. We make sure the bus is picked up. We have no trash on the bus. We make sure that the drinks that we have all have closed lids, things like that, so that we're good, okay? So just be respectful. If you get that Starbucks in the morning, make sure it's gone before you get on the bus. I hate to see somebody buy an $8 Starbucks and we have to toss it in the garbage because we need to move, okay? So just make sure we're all on the same page there. Now, for the Vietnam Memorial, when we go, if you need one of the rubs or to have that, I have some information here. Let your student know before the trip. Send those supplies with them so they have them. If they don't have them, we'll try to get them. But like Mr. Foss's uncle is on the Vietnam Wall, stuff like that, so some students will get a rubbing of his name too. Okay, whatever it is, if you have a family member, let's make sure that we get that for your student, okay? Now, for frequent flyer miles, if you have an account with Southwest, definitely try to do that before if you can. It just slows us down at the counter. We can do it there. It just slows us down. And so with that early time, especially on Thursday, we want to make sure we speed that up as much as possible. So if you could do that before or after, that would be awesome. They will add those miles in before or after. Now, couple local rules before we wrap up. Whining. We just say there's no whining on the trip. You're going to walk a lot. Yep, we know your legs are going to be tired. You don't have to tell us every 10 seconds. We know this. Our legs are probably tired too. Okay? But we know, because I still see 35-year-old people in the community who tell me, Mr. Ryder, that was the greatest trip that I've ever been on. 8th grade. So for a lot of you, you're going on what could be the highlight of your career in education in District 833. Let's make it that way. Don't whine. Enjoy it. Make it the most memorable trip that you've ever had. Okay? So that's a big thing. No whining. We all know how Mr. Foss hates whining too, right? Neuroplasticity. You got to stay positive. Now, the pickup, when we get to the airport, at the end on that Sunday morning, we just say check in with the chaperone. It's a pretty quick wave. Hey, see ya. Have a good day. Just give us a little so that we know that everybody is picked up. Now, Mr. Foss always has great advice. Some of you disagree. I think it's great. He says stay to the right. Don't walk on the curb. Don't talk over your seat. And always have a buddy. Simple rules to live by, right? Stay to the right. What he's talking about is if you're going down the street and sidewalk and we got a group of 67, if we stay to the right and the people coming at us stay to the right, we're able to flow very easily. If we go all over, that kind of just gums everything up. So we try to make sure we stay to the right. Don't walk on the curb. Usually if you're walking on the curb, you're in landscaping. We try not to do that, okay? And so it doesn't always work with 8th graders, but we do our best. So stay to the right. Don't walk on the curb. Don't talk over your seat. That's on the plane. And always have a buddy, even to the bathroom. Yes. Now, hopefully I was able to answer a lot of the questions that you have, get everybody on the same page. For the students, we're going to meet on Tuesday, October 8th again. We're just going to finalize everything. You're going to get a bunch of these things. You're going to get your luggage tags. You're going to have everything. That's about a week out. Now, what I ask for everybody is if you have finished this video, you're going to send me an email at dwriter2@sowashco.org, and I'll have that in the message too. But you're going to send me message that just says, hey, we're good, no questions. But if there is questions, I put together a frequently asked questions list. Just tells me that I missed covering something in this meeting, and then I send it out to get everybody back on the same page. So thank you everybody for being patient. I know this video was a day late, but we're trying to get those roommate things figured out and make the best experience for every student on there. So thanks for your patience with that. Please let me know if I missed anything or if you have any questions, and hope you know how much we're looking forward to traveling with your student. Students, make sure that you thank the people that are providing you with this opportunity. It is a great opportunity, but it also costs a ton of money, so you should feel grateful that they're doing that for you. Make sure you have a couple weeks to do maybe a couple extra chores or something, or at the least, tell them thank you, maybe hug them. It could be in front of all of us at the airport or not, up to you. Looking forward to a great trip. Have a very, very good day. Talk to you soon.